Welcome to Binge Theory, the coolest corner on the internet. I'm your humble host, Julian, and with me today we have three of the best experts on all things cinema, entertainment, comics, gaming on the internet. We have Logan.
Hello.
We have Brianna.
Hello.
And we have Kenny.
Hello.
And today we have another chock full of interesting stuff episode. Right off the bat, we're going to be touching on the WandaVision episode 6, titled All New Halloween Spectacular. That's the actual title of it. Just to give you the gist of it, in this, oddly enough, they are in the 90s. They've been slowly progressing each decade. So now they are in the 90s with a Malcolm in the Middle feel. And it's basically during a Halloween where Wanda is dressed in her, Wanda comic book look. Vision is in his comic Vision look. And it introduces, of course, from the last episode, Pietro into the family, how he relates to them, how he's related regarding the Pietro of the MCU, why he looks different. They address all that fun stuff. And also there is let's just say a unique individual drive that's pushing Vision to find out what's really going on. And he tries to literally get out of the barrier. But that is the gist of it. And I want to, first of all, drop it to Kenny and say, Kenny, what did you think of this episode 6, a very a new Halloween spooktacular?
I thought it was a pretty good episode. I saw some comments that basically said this was more of like a development episode. There wasn't anything too major, but I think there were some things that were confirmed in this episode. I did like a lot of the little Easter eggs or nods to various things, especially like for the Halloween costumes. Everybody was dressed up in their classic, comic book personas. Like, Pietro was in that classic Quicksilver. Of course, like you mentioned, Wanda and Vision were in theirs, but also her twins, Billy and Tommy, were in their personas as Speed and Wiccan. I think Tommy is Speed and Billy is Wiccan. And then there was a moment where I think it's just before Pietro runs off with the kids to go help them, expedite their candy collection, where as he runs off, she says kick ass. And I thought that was a cute nod to the fact that both Evan Peters and Aaron Taylor Johnson, who both have portrayed Quicksilver, were both in the movie Kick-Ass.
Yep.
Good Easter egg. Good.
Yeah, I thought that was a cool little nod to that movie. And then the movies, when they were walking through Town Square, and you look up on the theater, they had the two movies that were playing were The Incredibles and The Parent Trap, which I thought was also, kind of like a nod to just what's going on generally, right? Like The Incredibles is about, superpowered family, and Parent Trap is about twins, and I just thought that was another cool little nod.
And who produced both those films?
Now that one you got me on, but if that's another little Easter egg, good on it.
No, it was Disney.
Oh,
yeah.
I didn't even think. I don't know why. How did I not think about that? All right, I'm disowned as a Disney fan. But no, overall, I thought the episode was really, really well done. I definitely liked that you could tell that there was tension between Wanda and Vision, and that you could see her frustration with the fact that she could not. That she couldn't control him, and that he wasn't following her script. That you could tell the story that she's wanting to tell, he's not following. So I like that we're seeing that tension there, And then obviously we know that as he tried to exit, her hex, that he would die. So Wanda, when her kid, who's discovering his powers, realized there was a problem, I love that she just stops everything, all action, all movement in Westview, and then expands her Westview world, right? And I thought that was just a really good display of what her powers have become.
Yeah, I am with you 100%. Matter of fact, and Brianna, I want to pitch this to you because I always got that sense that this was essentially, for lack of a better term, like a big simulation, more of a cerebral simulation, but these are all characters that she's controlling, kind of like a CPU in a large open world video game. And I was saying every once in a while, she'll probably lose track, or, it'll be a little buggy, like Cyberpunk. And
so a lot buggy,
exactly.
which this episode was, so it's perfect.
And this, like say for example in Grand Theft Auto, where the whole reason that it moves so effortlessly is when you're not within like a certain area, everything just stops. It's not like everything is.
It's only loading little sections at a time. Yeah,
exactly. And when Vision, went to that other neighborhood off script, and I love that term, Kenny, he came across people that were shut down, completely frozen because they weren't doing anything. But
people still crying in some of it. They're in there.
Yeah, those tears were intense.
It's awful.
That was like hard. That was hard to watch.
Absolutely. And so Brianna, what's your thoughts on this episode?
It was an exciting episode. It's always fun to have like a Halloween episode, and one of the reviews I was reading, just to even be able to understand the show, was saying like it's pretty classic that a lot of TV shows will have a Halloween episode, sometimes several, especially with a show like that. So it was a lot of fun. But yeah, a lot of stuff happened. I thought it was interesting, like Pietro, he remembers being shot. So to me, that signifies like his memories go through like her kind of timeline as opposed to like whatever X-Men one that he had. But I still don't understand how this stuff's happening. Agnes too, I thought that was pretty interesting. I was thinking that she is like basically off the hook now, but some people are saying like, I don't know, like she could still be, an arch enemy or something, and she was just faking it when Vision finds her, and then of course she tells him that he's dead, and just like all this stuff kind of just rolls on through. But I like it, but I don't know if it's because like we're at 6 episodes in now. I'm like, it takes so much work for me to understand and even try to process what's happening, and it's like, I just don't know if a show should be this hard to watch and just to have fun. Like, it's not fun unless it's just like you're just looking at like, oh, the cute Halloween costumes and like the acting's so good and it's cool how they do these different shows, but like it's almost getting more frustrating the longer it gets, because like anytime I think something is answered, it's like, well, maybe, but we're still not sure yet and stuff like that.
So, and again,
that's just how I feel. Yeah, I guess.
What's hilarious is these are only basically a little over half an hour long. These aren't like
short.
And
exactly.
it's but I do hear, and correct me if I'm wrong, the internet is saying that the last 3 episodes are going to be hour-long episodes.
Oh, okay.
I haven't heard that.
There have been some rumors, yeah.
I heard rumors.
Mm-hmm.
So that and to your point, Brianna, in regards to Quicksilver having a different recollection of, and he even says to her, well, if I had a traumatic memory, I'd probably change it too, so I wouldn't recognize their face. So I don't know if they're really explaining it away, or if that's just some sort of a putting a pin in it till later.
But she also like has that vision of him also dead, just like she did with Vision. So it's like, yeah, how much of this is trauma? How much is real versus not real? But
I'd say it's probably, that's an excellent point. I would say it's equal parts. a little
Yeah.
bit of trauma, a little bit of fantasy, a little bit of reality, and
Yeah.
yeah, and that you got that.
Crazy.
It's pretty wild. Logan, what were your thoughts on this episode?
So I do think it was more, at least I saw it as more of a, I won't say a filler, but it was definitely, like those Halloween episodes, like the Christmas episodes, like those kind of, special ones would do. They're not moving the main story as much, but they're filling in bits and pieces there. You're seeing more about Vision's discovery. You're seeing more relationship with the kids. I think, it's a little bit more of Wanda's, the scope of her power, however she's been able to enhance it that much, or whatever has been enhancing it that much. I think the biggest thing for me was the relationship between um, um, I guess really her kids and whoever is portraying Quicksilver, because I don't believe it's necessarily him. I don't know if it's I don't think it's him from a multiverse anymore. But if I would point to anybody as possibly being the lion in sheep's clothing, I would say he's probably got my vote at the moment.
Interesting.
The way he kind of, what did he call the kids in there? Demon spawn.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
You know,
that was like
that
a weird hit.
and then
Like,
go
what does
raise
that
hell.
mean?
Like
Unleash,
it's just like
unleash hell, demon spawn.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
just kind of like yeah, but awkward. Like it was just a little too off. And yeah, I think seeing where that develops and the kids' power and the kind of all the relationship there, and plus Wanda's reaction to some of his off the cuffness, it's like, don't worry about Vision, you can't die twice or whatever it was that he said, and then she like blasts him through the hay, So there's it's not quite a I don't know, it's not quite a complete picture. But I think it definitely served to kind of fill in some individual plot lines and move things along. And, like those good one-off episodes, you're kind of left with a little bit of change going into the kind of the final home stretch. You've got a whole circus now of soldiers and people and other stuff back there, and a widened sphere of influence. And yeah, it's these last three are going to be really interesting.
Very true. Now, and did you use the term circus as a pun? Or-
No.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Literally a circus.
Literally, is the big tent and the clowns and
Yes.
everything. Oh yeah,
Yeah, I
and
like
it's
the
an
clowns.
appropriate analogy, I think, too, to what those kinds of things really are. But it was just a perfect change, and that there's going to be some sort of showdown there as the episodes go on.
Yeah, absolutely. And Kenny, I remember you saying that your evolution, your theory has slightly evolved with the new information you've been getting from this this series.
Yeah, it has. But I actually wanted to call back when we I think Logan just mentioned about seeing Quicksilver dead, or was that Brianna? But I noticed something after she saw him and she looked away. He asked her if she was okay, and she responded yes. But after he's like, okay, like he's recognizing that something's wrong. So that made me wonder how much of him is there, and like maybe it's a lot of subconscious, some subconscious thought taking over.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I have updated my theory. I'll probably do this every episode now.
Until the last one.
More information comes
Yeah,
in.
but that's how it works, right? Like when you get new information, you update your hypothesis, your theories and things like that. So I'm going to go back to Avengers Endgame, and at the end, right during Tony Stark's or after Tony Stark's funeral, her and Hawkeye, Clint Barton are standing there on the edge of the pond, and they're talking, and she seems to be at peace. But then in this episode, when Pietro is talking to her about how this all started, she said all that she can remember is feeling utterly alone and just endless nothingness. And I'm like, so where did that? I have to think that came from somewhere, because if she seems at peace at the end of Endgame, and then this is, I can't remember how long. I think it's a few weeks after Endgame takes place.
Yes. Well, and Kenny, just to give you a little something for context, remember Rambo reappeared. Oh, geez. I hope I'm not messing up the timeline. Because I thought that Rambo reappeared and then went right into Sword's headquarters, like within a week or so.
Yeah, it was like a couple of weeks, I think.
Okay, so Wanda was gone too. So Wanda just reappeared. So Wanda probably reappeared, and then she took on Thanos, and then after Endgame, she probably finally got her chance to see Vision, and I think that might have triggered a lot of the because
that's why I bring it up, because
she didn't have a chance to process anything. She was gone.
She was gone for 5 years. Yeah.
For her, Vision.
That's why I'm bringing it up, though, because like I know she hadn't processed that, but in her that quick little thing between her and Clint, where they're basically talking to each other, she does seem to accepting of the situation. She doesn't seem like, she doesn't come across as utterly depressed. So what I am thinking is, between that time and now, that some unknown villain that we haven't been introduced to yet, possibly like Mephisto or something, is basically got a hold of her or something, and made her grief even worse, and just expanded on her grief, and then manipulated her to see that, well, you're grieving, but you can have these things, and this is what you have to do. All you would need to do is this, and you could be happy. So my theory is that whoever this villain is sees her as a very big threat, and this is their way of trying to take her out and remove her from the situation so that she's no longer a threat.
See, I don't know that she ever. I can certainly appreciate the seeing it, but if you think of the timeline that Julian put forth, she would have popped back when Hulk snapped. She would have went back in Wakanda where she died, because everybody returned to where they were from the snap. So she went right from Wakanda to a portal to fight Endgame, to then do the funeral. And then at the end of the funeral, I mean, you're still, even, whether it's any kind of just a series of road trips or a battle or whatever, you're still dealing with all that kind of high. And then I can appreciate that it wouldn't hit her until Clint goes home with his wife and kids.
Yeah, I mean,
and everybody starts to kind of go home there, and then she really is. Yeah, the funeral is still kind of the end of when she's still in crisis mode, and then everybody leaves to be with their somebody, and she's left with nothing.
Have vision.
Yeah,
that's a good point.
Yeah, that's true.
And I hear you. And a lot of people on the internet have put that chatter out about Mephisto. I have the wonderful benefit of not knowing anything about Mephisto, so that doesn't even register in my.
That's why I said probably, because I don't know much about Mephisto. I haven't done a lot of research on him.
I've heard the name, but I know nothing more.
But I still hold true to that. Someone is using her grief against her, and ultimately, before this season ends, we're gonna see who that is that pushed her to do this, and then I don't know what's going to happen next. Makes me really wonder, though, if at the end of this season, if we're going to have like a huge battle, something that culminates in a huge battle between like Wanda and Vision and the baddie, or if it's just going to be the baddie gets revealed and then we go on, then it goes to next season.
You know what? And the only reference I have is a little bit of the source material from the comic. That's the only thing that I'm really going off of. And not saying it could not be a third party manipulating or kind of shaking the gerbil cage, so to speak. I'm just going with the thought that Disney, even though they want to introduce characters, it had better be a character that everybody can just say, ooh, that's what's his name. Because I'm just speaking as, a guy who's watched all the Marvel films, and I, just heard Mephisto's name just, in the past couple of weeks. So if they're trying to introduce a big baddie, I would at least hope that it would be a big baddie that we all would have some
I
recognition for.
I would disagree with that, because look at Phase 4 in the movies, right? You have Shang-Chi and the 10 rings.
Mm-hmm.
We haven't been introduced to really any of those characters yet.
None of the Eternals.
None of the Eternals. The new Hawkeye, what's her name? That's going to become the new.
Oh, Haley Steinfeld.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's gonna. I can't remember what her name is. Kate Bishop. We haven't been introduced to her yet, so I actually could see them introducing a baddie, a villain that we haven't met before, because that seems to be what they're doing with this new phase, is introducing completely new characters to the Marvel universe, along with some previous ones.
And I hear that 100%. Again, my only thought is for storytelling. And if you're going to do that in the third act, you would either have to end it on this note, either kind of like how the Justice League botched their storyline, and they had, that's a little, we're going to get to that, where they had Darkseid kind of mentioned, but you never see him.
Yeah.
And kind of like how they were hinting at Thanos, but he was never like an official baddie. He was just kind of the man behind the scenes. Yeah. I would just say that in this series, if you're going to get some sort of a closure, either they need to set up for a second season in revealing a big baddie, or they have to have some sort of a battle and somebody has to win, and introducing a unknown that they're going to fight. He would either have to beat them and then go on to the second season, or he would have to lose. And if he loses, that would be a horrible intro for a baddie to basically show up and then lose. He'd be a Steppenwolf.
Yeah. From what I've read, though, this is still supposed to lead into Doctor Strange 2.
Then let me counter you, Kenny, with my theory. Since this is
bring it.
Theory. Well, it's kind of, it hasn't changed that much, because everything that you guys are saying still applies, with the exception of the third party. I think it's more along the lines that she's suffering from post-traumatic stress from childhood, mind you, because her entire life has been a horror show since, being in Sokovia, being basically locked into under rubble, looking at a Tony Stark bomb about to blow up in her face for days. So that might mess with your mental well-being. And then, basically seeing her brother shot and, experiencing that tragic loss. Oh yeah. And I'm so sorry. Yeah. Hydra was experimenting on her for who knows how long with the Mind Stone. So I'm sure that might've loosened a few screws. And then of course, when she kills all those people in not Wakanda, but what's the name? Lagos. Lagos. Yeah. She kills all those people in Lagos.
Yeah.
And so I'm saying, I think she's so damaged, and I hate that, because I don't like when strong female characters have to be crazy, because that's kind of the go-to. Oh, she's out of her mind. Anyway, so I think she's suffering from a lot of stress, but the power thing and the manipulation, I don't doubt that she's being manipulated. I just think it may not be a sentient being. I still think that it's the Mind Stone reconstituting itself and basically giving her what it thinks she wants and what she thinks she wants. So it's basically constructing this reality based on her, I guess, her subconscious. And that's why she says, I don't know how it started, but I'm just going with it. Because she has some control. She has some control over what's happening, but things are also being offered to her in this reality that she didn't ask for. It's kind of like when her brother showed up, it's her brother, but it's not really a brother, but it's a brother that she can accept.
Yeah.
And that's something from within her mind. And it could be a character that, Mephisto or whoever, and here's my prediction. So write it down. I predict that things will continue to unravel. Vision will have a strong confrontation with her and say, listen, I'm not even really here, am I? This is all you. And she's going to say no, and he's going to say yes, and things really start to spiral. Maybe they have a fight, maybe not, but I think she's going to basically have a breakdown, and this would set up Doctor Strange showing up to, like I said before, pull a Professor Xavier and get inside her mind and kind of just, either put up some blockades to prevent this madness or whatever, or maybe, extract the Mind Stone from her and reconstitute it in an actual physical gem instead of just that energy that she may be embodying. So that's what I kind of think is going to happen. In one sentence, she has a total breakdown. Doctor Strange shows up and sucks the Mind Stone out of her body.
Did you catch that little moment between her and Pietro in the town square where they were talking about how all this started, and he was like, where did the kids come from? And then they kind of talk about the morality of it and the ethical situation or the ethical dilemma. And then she's like, you don't have a problem with it? And he's like, nah. So that really makes me think like a lot of this is, I think some of the unraveling is her subconscious is aware that this is wrong, and it's like she's battling internally.
Absolutely.
But I also wanted to say, when you said Lagos, that made me think about the creepy Yo Magic commercial that they did in this episode. I don't know if that was such a weird commercial. Like a kid stuck on an island, and then they give him a thing of yogurt that he can't open, and he just dies.
Yes.
And then the tagline was Yo Magic, the snack for survivors. I was just like, it was just creepy and a lot to take in.
It was dark. I also did like the joke about when Pietro too said to her, no, she said, what happened to your accent?
Oh, yeah, he goes,
what happened to your accent? It was.
Yeah.
Now I did hear, and again, internet says that Black Widow taught her to lose her accent because Black Widow's Russian, and she lost her accent because it makes you less conspicuous, I guess. So I heard that's how she slowly lost her accent. But if you pay attention, when she, in episode 5, when she went out and confronted the soldiers,
it came back.
It was a little shaky. So I like that they're at least addressing that she had an accent. It doesn't, but it's still there. She just has mastered covering it up like a spy. And she was doing a lot of ops with Black Widow and Captain America when they were on, I guess excommunicated or whatever. But again, this is such an exciting series.
I like that when Pietro made the comment, "Don't worry, your dead husband can't die twice." And she was just not having that and just knocked him across the town square. I was like, wow.
And but again, to me, that's her subconscious kind of confronting her with, the horrors of what's going on, just like when she had the flash of Vision dead and the flash of Pietro dead. And even the control over everybody that's in her reality, it's not always 100%. Sometimes the grip loosens a little bit. I mean, that's why they're crying. I mean, they're suppressed. It reminded me a lot of what's his name? Jordan Peele's Get Out. If anybody saw that movie, the Logan University, you wouldn't see. It was. I mean, again, it's kind of darker fare, but in a nutshell, the gist of it is that there's a young African American man whose white girlfriend takes him to meet her family, and it turns out that they're part of a cult that basically kidnaps black men or black people. They could be men or women, and basically lobotomizes them and then inserts their brain right on the frontal lobe, so they are basically in control of the body most of the time.
Oh wow.
Most of the time. So they're like being suppressed with, another conscious. And there's moments where they're just in tears because they're powerless. They're basically along for the ride. And I get that feeling from this episode a lot. Anyway, love it, love it, love it. We're gonna, I mean, how many episodes are in this again? Is it
9?
9? Okay, so 3 left.
3 more.
3 more.
We will see. And you know what? Maybe we'll have a special surprise. I'm not promising anything. I'm just alluding to it. I'm hinting it. I'm putting an Easter egg out there. Perhaps something will happen on the finale. We will see. It could be a very binge special episode. There you go. I'm trying to work in branding here. Okay. On to the next topic. We all had the benefit of watching the new Zack Snyder's Justice League trailer. And I have thoughts because it's thought-provoking, but I would like to start off with Brianna. Brianna, what were your thoughts on the Zack Snyder's Justice League trailer?
I mean, it looks exciting. I wrote down CGI/spectacle because that's what it felt like the whole time. It was like, it wasn't a lot of like story-centric trailer. It was all just like flash bang fights, just stuff going off everywhere. But yeah, at this point, I'm like, I just want to watch it. Like I need to rewatch the first one and then obviously watch the new one. But I just don't remember enough to really like be able to comment more than that. But it literally just felt like this CGI heavy laden trailer.
It is like the rebirth of Michael Bay.
Yes. All the flashes everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, I'm surprised they don't have a warning. One of those
yeah.
strobe warnings.
Paralysis. Yes.
Logan, what were your thoughts on this?
I don't know that mine have changed from last time. I think it will be what the director wanted his final vision to be, and I think that is owed to him as a director on it, and I look forward to seeing what it is and then judging it then.
Very true, very true. Yeah, not a lot of new information, just a lot of quick scenes.
Quick scenes, though you do see Darkseid, which is a nice touch, I think. Mostly because I never really bought Steppenwolf as the main villain in the last version of it. And it did seem, again, like it was. There were some pieces that were cut out and things. You get 2 different directors trying to do 2 different things and wildly different visions and all sorts of stuff. So, yeah, looking forward to seeing it as the, one director's complete vision.
Excellent. Excellent. No callback to the WandaVision, but just his own vision.
His own vision, yeah. Yep. I'm glad to see we're getting our HBO sponsored content in this week.
You know what? I'm still waiting for the check. I mean, come on. Come on, HBO.
Residuals, anything.
Yeah.
We'll take it.
Kenny, what are your thoughts on this? I think this is now there may be one more big trailer, but yeah, this is the first official trailer or the latest trailer. I don't know. What are your thoughts on
It's definitely the longest one.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I concur with Logan about being able to see Zack Snyder's vision, so to speak, come to life. I think that'll be nice just to see what his original idea was for the picture. But I literally wrote one note for the trailer, and all it says is they went through an awful lot of trouble in an attempt to show us that this is a completely different movie than the original Justice League. Because that's how I felt like that the trailer was really trying to highlight that this is a completely different movie, but even though it's going to be 4 hours long, DC, the DC track record in general doesn't bode well. So obviously we'll watch it. And
Well, it's our job to watch it as
yeah. But no, I'll watch it, and I'll give it I'll give it a fair view. I won't like go into it, closed-minded. I think my ADD helps with that I can go into things kind of, fresh and take it for what it is. So, but I'm looking forward to it just to see what the original vision was for the picture.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. I mean, and I think I said it last time when I was talking to Logan about it, is for whatever it's worth, you will get the desired result, the original vision, no pun intended. And for better or for worse, that's what you're going to get. And yeah, my 2 cents is I think that it's like they're trying to get a second bite at the apple. They redid Steppenwolf, made him look much more metal, and they did show Darkseid. It's funny because they used literally some of the graphics that Steppenwolf was doing, and they just put Darkseid's body over it, where he swings that hammer and hits the ground. That was Steppenwolf in the original version. So they're just swapping characters.
Still Steppenwolf in this version. Maybe I didn't see it correctly.
No, I'm just talking about a specific scene. When you saw Darkseid hitting the ground with the hammer.
I thought that was in this trailer. I thought it was still Steppenwolf.
No.
I'll have to go back and watch it because I
No, yeah, you're right to think that.
Maybe it's me not going into it with a fresh mind. It's like I'm seeing the original.
Well, yeah, that's a good eye because it was basically they just photoshopped Darkseid over top of Steppenwolf. And again, it is what it is. I mean, I did take some notes here. You got Lex doing his voiceover, his creepy voiceover. They did show the nightmare sequence again with Batman and his wicked cool Dusta, and and you got to see Superman in his black outfit, which is new, and there is the big reveal at the end that I don't think anybody asked for, but you're going to get it. You're going to get it. Joker wearing tactical gear and saying, the days of human morality are gone, aren't they, Batman? And again, they better show that they have some deep connection, because if just referencing, I think, what is the Batman versus Superman, when you saw the Robin uniform with the joke's on you. They had better do a very tasteful and impactful connection between that one thing, that one Easter egg, and seeing the Joker again. They better be able to tie that together well. I don't have all the confidence in Zack Snyder's ability to do that. Like I said before, and Brianna, you remember my thoughts on Zack Snyder.
Yes.
And what happens when you give him the keys. I basically think that he's going to give you a lot of show with not a lot of go. And it is what it is. We will watch it, and we will come to you, the good people on the internet, and share our thoughts and opinions, because how else will you know what to think?
Yeah.
Very good.
I think that will be interesting too with the length of this one, because sometimes when you're trying to cram in so much show and different pieces end up in the cutting room floor, if you're not exceptionally adept at being able to cut and splice and tell a story while being able to show all the flash and bang that you want to, I don't know. I might be a little bit more hedging my bets for a more complete story on this one, if only because of the runtime. Now, is it going to be too much and we're going to get just kind of superfluous fluff, or too much of it? Maybe, but I think with how long this could be, we'll probably get the clearest picture to date of, if that coherent, engaging story is in there. It's just never had the right editor to bring it out.
It's all in the editing at the end of the day. That can make or break a film.
Sure.
I just hope that it's not 5 extra minutes of footage all in slow motion. that That's where you get your extra hour from. It's just a very slow motion
Still a
fight.
short slow motion.
Did they did they update the release notes? Like, I thought originally it was going to be 4 like 1 hour long episodes, and then I had a friend that told me it was going to that no, it's actually going to be released in a whole 4 hour long format.
I believe it's 1 4-hour shot.
Yeah, I never heard about the 4 1 hours. That would be, I don't know.
Because it was going to be 4 hours long, I think the original intent was they were going to release it almost like a mini series, like 4 1 hour long, like cut it into just 4 1 hour long episodes. So, but I think it's better just to, even though it's 4 hours long, just go ahead and just put it out there.
Maybe Snyder put his foot down, like, nope, movie only. Like, gotta listen.
Yeah, I would have issues with watching that stretched out over several days. But especially because we all know where it ends. So watching a slow rollout of that would be, I guess, kind of anticlimactic. And again, it's going to be interesting. It's something to do. What are you going to do? It's cold outside. You can't breathe the air. You might as well watch a 4-hour long movie. Okay. There is a new series on Netflix. Brianna brought this to our attention. And because I think she may be the only person who saw it, Brianna, I would like for you to tell me about Malcolm and Marie.
Yes. Well, it's a movie, not a series.
Sorry.
So, but it stars John David Washington. So I was excited because that's the first time I've seen him outside of Tenet. So I was like, okay, yeah, definitely. He's a good actor. And Zendaya, they're literally the 2 actors in the movie the whole time. It's black and white. So it's like got that artsy kind of look to it, pretty unique to nowadays. But unless you really like them as actors or just like acting and maybe filmmaking in general, don't waste your time. It was so boring, but really it just looks at relationships and kind of what fights are and what really turns into fights. Like, is that exactly what you're fighting about? There's a lot of those like undertones, kind of figuring out stuff along the way. Yeah, it was filmed on regular like celluloid film. So I don't know if this is still true, but it blew my mind like a couple years ago when I heard that they could only do like, I think it's close to like 2.5 minutes max per take before they have to reload, like cut, reload the film, start over again or whatever. But the shocking thing about this movie, though, is it has some really long takes. Like I wrote down, like it is literally a movie of monologues. One of the very first scenes is like the 2 of them walking to the house. They're kind of arguing. Zendaya starts dinner because like they just came back. Like basically he's a movie maker, like filmmaker. She is his girlfriend, but she wasn't in the film. So like there's a little bit of tension you can pick up on. But the premiere went really well. But like she goes outside, starts smoking a cigarette, and it literally, the film like just tracks him just walking around the living room, and it just goes side to side. Like I don't know how long the scene was, but it was fascinating. Like just the amount of dialogue that they had to memorize for even just the one scene was actually pretty impressive. So I just thought that was pretty interesting from, I guess, that side of
Would
things.
you say it's comparable to Scarlett Johansson and Adam Driver in Marriage Story?
I guess, but I kind of enjoyed that one more because it was more than just fights. Like literally, this movie is like mainly just the fights and then the discussions afterwards, and then something else comes up. Like that is literally all this movie is, and it's in one house. And actually, I should mention, like they shot it in COVID times, so it's like there was probably like less than 10 people there. It was only the 2 actors. They like rented this house, outfitted it, and like that was it. It's pretty simple in that regard. It's crazy, but it's yeah, and I think it's close to 2 hours. It's like 1 hour and 45. So that's a long movie to just sit. I was like, I need to pay attention, but I'd rather just be on my phone.
and here's, I told Brianna before we started, I was planning on watching it, and
No, you don't have to.
it was funny as I turned it on, and it starts very art housey. You're 100% right. It's almost like a student film. It was a grainy film. You could tell it was on film, and they started with the opening title, and a lot of the credits were on the front end, and it was. I checked out. I punched out.
Trust me, if you weren't interested then, there's nothing else that happens that really would have happened.
Well, but don't get me wrong. If I was in a theater and I was locked in, and this is an interesting side topic. Can art house projects, the ones that have those slow burns, garner the interest of people at home where they have distractions like kids and things going on outside the house, doing things around the house? Because if I was in a theater, I might have thoroughly enjoyed this or been vested in seeing it through. But now that I have the option to basically just turn my head or flip the channel,
it's an easy out.
Yeah, exactly. I'm wondering if this easy out culture, which we just coined the phrase easy out culture, if that is actually being detrimental. Or can they even tell because, you already have my money for every other show that you have on Netflix or HBO. And I'm wondering if that's the case, if the art house films that are not as, pow in your face, Justice League, Michael Bay, like, if people are less inclined to watch those than they would, because it's the competition is right. Just a thumb click away. I'm wondering if that is the case. Interesting.
To me, it's kind of both ways though, because like I only see movies in the theater that I really want to see. So I probably wouldn't have watched it if it was in the theater. But if it had been on Netflix later, or like, right now it's on Netflix, I was like, okay, yeah, like I really wanted to watch it because of the actors and whatnot.
And Kenny, you were going to say something?
Yeah. So I think you have a point there with your coined phrase of easy out culture.
I'm writing it down. Hold on.
But
we've talked about get out and easy out.
I think some of it is you do have to have, there is an audience for that. But I think I read something where a lot of people had actually been complaining about like The Mandalorian and WandaVision and just TV shows in general that are releasing week to week instead of a traditional Netflix just release the whole season at once and binge it all at the same time. And I read an interesting take on that that a lot of people have forgotten how to watch TV.
Right.
And they're so used to this instant access, instant binge mode, and we're binge theory, right? Like we like to binge, but at the same time, I think there's a level of appreciation that a lot of us have lost with the suspense you get and the analysis you get from having shows released week to week. Because the biggest TV show that's done that for me recently was Game of Thrones. I didn't realize how much I enjoyed the week and I used to hate cliffhangers, right? I hated like waiting for but I loved all of the discussion I would have with coworkers and friends and just and my wife and just talking about all the possibilities of what's going to happen in the next episode. What do we think's going on? And I realized like you don't get that when you can see the entire season all at once. You're just like, well, I know what happens because I can watch it all in one day.
Yeah, it probably is better for discussion, like when it's week at a time, because that person has only watched that one episode. So it's like, did you watch it last night? As opposed to like, wait, what episode are you on?
Yeah, exactly.
For sure.
But I also think that I'm sure Netflix has the ability to look at the data and see how long you watched a movie. So they can see like Julian watched this movie for 2 minutes and 34 seconds and then checked out.
Not even that long, but yes.
Well, yeah, I think there was actually some controversy over The Witcher, like when they dropped that season. What they quantified as people watching it, I think was like you just had to watch 10 seconds of the first episode. So it looks super inflated, but you know that not everyone stuck around for that. Like how many of those were like accidental clicks or someone just didn't like it and like stopped after the first episode or whatever it is. So
But
you know they look at that stuff.
But I was also going to say that I was actually wanting to see it, but we don't have Netflix anymore, so I can't watch it right now. But I actually did want to watch it because I every once in a while I do like to watch movies where it's minimal actors, minimal crew, because I think there's really good art to that, and it gives you the chance to think about like what it took to make that movie, with that minimal aspect.
Yeah. Well, and when you're used to the Marvels, it's like it's almost like going back to the basics. Like it's just like no filters, like it's just acting for acting's sake.
Yeah.
And I did like, Kenny, how for a second you said, the going back to the typical Netflix formula, where Netflix was revolutionary just 3 years ago because everything was episodic up until then. So it did, you're right, it completely blew up our digestion of media and how people do consume media in that respect.
Yeah.
I do like, and let me put this out to you. I see a difference in episodic shows. I see the episodes of like the single camera sitcoms where everything is wrapped up in 30 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
You don't need a next episode to know where it's going. Everything is compartmentalized within that episode. And then you have your WandaVisions, your Mandalorians, your Game of Thrones that are a part of a larger story arc. Each one has its own little victory or its own little story arc, but it's part of a larger narrative. And I can see, like, say, for example, The Office or any show like The Office. I don't need it to be released every week. Just give it to me and I'll consume it like popcorn because I get the whole package in each episode.
Yeah.
But when it comes to the larger arcs, I can see the benefit of having it done weekly. So I guess the term episodic may be a little too broad.
Yeah.
And I use it. So I'm just thinking maybe I need to reassess what episodic actually means.
Well, I think that's still what they call it, the episodic versus serialized, right?
Okay. So let's and again we're doing media 101 here. So let's define the difference between the two, please.
So the way I had always done it, right or wrong, serialized was a cohesive story where you can't just watch episode 2 and then episode 10 and then episode 7. Each episode has to be watched in order to be able to follow it. First show that I can remember like that was probably Babylon 5, where you had to watch them all in order. Each one built off another. There were sure some filler episodes here or there, but the entire series was the arc. You could not just bump in here and there, as opposed to a Star Trek The Next Generation, where it was more of an episodic Planet of the Week kind of a thing. And you could watch episode 2 of season 2 and episode 10 of season 5. And besides, maybe the actors look a little older. They're on a planet, stuff happens, they resolve it, have a nice day. So it doesn't really matter that way. And that was always the distinction I made between the two.
I like that. No, there you go. That it's official. We have a serial, and when we have just the simple episodics, I like that. That's because I like to categorize things and then put them in lists and all fun stuff. So,
not to drag up older shows and painful memories, but if I remember correctly, when Firefly was released, and it was part of the issue with why it was getting poor ratings was it Fox that was releasing it?
Yep.
Was releasing the episodes out of order
Yep.
And so people were confused, and therefore they didn't want to watch the show.
Yeah, there were emotional bites and just actual character building, the same characters on the ship, getting to know the characters kind of thing, that they released out of order. So you didn't have kind of that appropriate level of emotional attachment and understanding to what their different plights and stories were.
Yeah.
So you were always just kind of lost, wondering, well, why do I care so much? Or what are you talking about that, this thing is going on or that thing is going on? And that was attributed to one of the things that never let it really get a foothold.
Why did they release it out of sequence?
Fox, you'll have to ask them.
That is odd, though. I mean, I can understand releasing them all at once, but yeah, just haphazardly. That's like, releasing I don't want to say Gilligan's Island, but like Game of Thrones out of order, and you're just.
Yeah, and I would say to some extent, Firefly was probably more of I guess maybe a bit of a hybrid between episodic and serialized, where some of the ones now, you have the serialized nature of the characters' interactions, where things happen and they kind of build, but essentially it's still a Planet of the Week, an event of the week kind of a thing. Going back to something like I don't know, maybe a Quantum Leap. You would have kind of the relationship between the two characters as they got to know each other, as they developed a rapport with each other, and getting that out of order. If you got one that was filmed 6 or 7 episodes in first, you might see a level of attachment, or it would be written in such a way that the writer or the director would assume you've seen 6 or 7 stories of them working together, so they're starting to find their flow with each other. And if that's out of order, you're never going to get that or see that.
Good point. Yeah, the Fox, you blew it, like so many other projects you've been involved in. So good stuff.
But they don't exist anymore, so now it's only Disney.
Yeah.
Isn't that where we're going eventually, though, Logan?
They're gonna.
It's all just Disney.
It's all just Disney or Netflix. Yep.
Netflix better watch its back, because I bet I wouldn't put it past Disney just to write a ridiculously large check and just say we'll take it from here. What do you got? What do you got, Netflix? Okay, so good topic. Moving on. Now, this one is I'm going to, give it to the gaming experts on our channel.
Take it away.
Yeah, these are 2 topics regarding, the gaming industry in general and, Google Stadia. Kenny and Brianna, I will let you decide who brings up which topic first, but this is for our gaming community out there.
I will start by saying I am not a gaming expert.
Yes, you are.
No, whatever. Maybe compared to you.
Yeah.
Which anybody could do that.
Compared to a regular gamer.
Compared to half the people on here, you are. So you're automatically in the majority.
Top 50%.
Yeah.
That's all it takes.
I'm willing to say that Brianna is probably more of a gaming expert than I am.
All right. Well, you can be in our segment regular gamer. Okay.
Semi-regular
gamer. There we go. Brianna, if you want to.
Well, yeah, I just wanted to mention it was pretty big news, I think 2 weeks ago now, Google Stadia. So it's not officially shutting down, but what they did was just dump their first-party studios, which means that they're not going to have any exclusive games because they're not going to be paying to make them. So it was just kind of a disappointment, I think, across the board. I mean, compared to other consoles and everything, it obviously hasn't performed as much, but they do so much R&D to probably even start that process. And like they had just launched it in November of 2019. So it's like they literally barely gave it a chance. They hired like 150 people. I don't know how many games they actually originally had planned, or even if they launched any in that time, but it's basically just giving up any competitive advantage that they had. So it just it's just kind of sad because it's like, you know, normally at least you would give it a little bit more of a working chance. Like they didn't even really give it a chance. They didn't even try. So
Isn't that their kind of MO though? They just
yeah, and that's kind of the whole shtick is like, oh, there they go again. Just throw a bunch of money at it and like maybe not have the right people on board to manage it. And it just
Fail
like
fast,
that's
fail
not gonna
expensive.
fit. And it's like video games are so hard to make, and like it's such a competitive area. Like you already have the Xboxes, the PlayStations, and the Nintendos who just dominate the consoles, obviously, that have gone like decades now. And just yeah, it just I don't know why they even did it in the first place, to be honest. It's just
well, maybe they just had a budget and they said, okay, yeah, we need to spend this $5 billion. What do
Yeah.
Billy, you know, yeah, by the vending machines. What do you like? I like games. Billy, you're in charge of the
there's
gaming.
$1 billion. Yeah.
There's a couple $1 billion. Go have fun.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's a write-off. That's what's
Yeah.
sad is like,
Well, and
we
I
took a loss on that.
yeah, when I just looked at, I was researching a little bit more before we jumped on today, and there's all these like recent articles because they're like, wait, there's like 100+ games coming out this year, but again, it's not exclusive games. It's games that are on every other console. So it's like, it's not necessarily the kiss of death for it, but it certainly is not like Google does not have confidence in its own console and like cloud gaming service. So
they basically come out and said Google Stadia is a technology platform for Google's partners. It's essentially like the tagline that they've given it now. So it's not, it's basically like, we're going to let our Google partners leverage this platform for, it sounds like game development essentially.
Kind of, but like again, I think that those 150 people lost their jobs because they're not specifically making games for it. So it's literally just paying others, like getting the licenses from other studios that they do not employ to be able to use those games. So it's very different than like having their own studios. So
that's
crazy.
To just stand something up and then not give it the chance to succeed.
Yeah. But again, just the work that they probably put even into like seeing if they'd want to do it. I mean, they had to do a lot of research to say like, what is our, you know, what angle are we approaching this from? Like, what can we do to be better than these other guys? And they just gave up. So.
And you know what? I hate to say, but I think in like this a monolith-sized business like this, and they're basically have all these moving pieces, and it's almost like, let's just test this. And if it takes off, we'll go with it. If it looks like it's going to be some effort and it may not give us the percentage revenue we want, write it off.
That's pretty much exactly what they did.
When you have enough
didn't go
money,
that great.
Yeah, when you have enough money just to fail and it doesn't even affect your bottom line, you'll try anything, and you'll do it kind of half-heartedly. And I mean, what was that? Remember Google Plus? I
forgot about that.
Again. It was going to be the anti-Facebook, and
the new social media place to hang out.
Yeah, and again, you have the entire internet as your infrastructure, and you can't pull that off.
Yeah,
I think somebody got lazy. That's all. You know. Oh, wait a second. Something just coming in. Cara Dune had all of her action figures taken off the shelves for Mandalorian, and Gina Carano found out that she was no longer employed on the internet, not from anybody contacting her.
What?
Ooh.
Yes.
That's not a good look.
That's brutal.
Yes. She found out.
I actually feel bad for her in that regard.
Some people probably do feel bad for her.
Yeah.
I would also. I'm getting something else in the other. I'm hearing that WandaVision is the highest viewed TV show currently out there. It is getting the most views of any TV show. Wow. So there you go.
But that goes back to what Brianna said earlier. What do they count as views?
What are the statistics? Tell me right now.
It's got the most 3-second views of any TV show.
Right.
But no, to go back to the whole gaming thing. also not just Google Stadia, but to talk about like changes in the gaming industry in general. So being the average, I call myself a casual gamer because I'm not.
I like that name too.
Yeah, I am a casual gamer.
Casual gamer.
Yes. I'm not hardcore. I play for fun. I do not play for, competition. I don't play professionally. I play to have fun. And so if I'm playing a video game and I'm not having fun, I just toss it. I just get rid of it.
Just a simple man trying to make his way through the levels.
But yeah, but it's not as that. It's that the gaming industry is so huge compared to what it was when we were all growing up. Like growing up, there was there was basically the console games, and you had arcades, you had consoles, computer, PC, and that was it. And now there's so many genres. Like you still have the consoles, you still have PC. Surprisingly, there's still arcades. But
aren't they like retro arcades? Aren't they like ironic arcades?
It's not like, there's like a lot of them are called barcades now. Like it's, they're a lot of them target adult, more like, late teen and more adult customers. But
are they new games or are they like the Miss Pac-Man?
No, it's a mix of new and old.
I know Dave and Buster's used to be the last arcade that I saw.
There's actually there's one up in Ashburn, Virginia. I think it's called The Zone. I've been up there a few times. It's pretty cool. And they have a full bar, and they have food and stuff. So yeah, you can.
We might have to do an on location
on a game. Like then we had smartphones come out, and then you had the advent of mobile gaming, and mobile gaming has just changed gaming in general.
It's because there's so much money there.
Yeah,
so a lot more companies are making them.
The gaming industry is just a money maker.
And you know what? And here's the thing. Let me dig in on that for 1 second, Kenny, because I am a what you call a thumb gamer. Where you're basically thumb gaming on your phone. And Brianna is 100% right. It is such a money grab because these games are set up almost where you can't lose. It's this steady progression of, okay, yeah, you made an advancement. Here's an ad. You made a little more advancement. Here's an ad. And before you realize you've been playing it for 4 months and you haven't really done anything other than change the color of the background, and you've seen literally 5,000 ads. So it's very clever.
Hey, pay us $4.99 and you can get rid of the ads.
I never fall for that. I'm a cheapskate. I'm like, I'll just sit here through it. I'm not paying them any money.
It's a game of attrition. I'll watch your ads. I'm not giving you a penny.
Yeah, exactly.
So they make more money on the ads than they do off that $4.99.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, it's calculated. I mean, I've worked with some app developers, and it is a cost assessment where you're saying, okay, our average player will not get bored for 2-3 months, and their average play time is yada yada. So based on that ad, it's like insurance. They already know what the numbers are before you start playing. So, but you're right. Mobile gaming has usurped a lot of the consoling, and I'm sure not like the really in-depth. Matter of fact, I remember 3 episodes ago I had mentioned these just epic games that I was playing on mobile, and it was like the one that you'd mentioned, Brianna. The what was the name of it? Colossus.
Oh, Shadow of the Colossus.
Shadow of the Colossus. Those types of games, but one was called Sky, and you're like able to run and glide, and it's just beautiful soundtrack, animal noises, and string scoring. And I'm just looking at this. I'm like, what? Where's my Pong? I want Pong back.
Or like Snake or whatever it's called.
No, I want my Minesweeper back. Where's Minesweeper?
Oh, Minesweeper, yeah.
So what I was gonna to mention in regards to changes to games is there's a lot of games that I really want to get into and really want to play, but because I'm just a casual gamer and I am older, right? I'm in my 40s and my mind does not work the way it used to.
It's
My
unflushed.
hand-eye coordination is not what it used to be. So there are games that I really want to play, but because my mind just cannot process the game quick enough, I cannot play it. Like I either have to play it on the easiest or next to easiest level,
Yeah.
or I just can't play in general. Like, and I definitely don't do a lot of multiplayer because I mean, you're playing against people that play, half their day. So it's as much as I like gaming, like there's a lot that's gotten really frustrating. So there's some things that are targeted towards casual gamers, and then there's not. So, um, I think I mentioned in a couple episodes that I was playing the F1 game a lot, right? The Formula One game on my PS4, and it's fun, but you can have a lot more fun out of it by not playing in the casual, easy to control car. Like if you put more simulation into it, like and you up the AI level so that it's harder to race against. But the problem is once I take off
Yeah.
the training wheels, I just I don't have the hand-eye coordination to make it fun. It becomes instantly frustrating. And the time it takes someone to play the game long enough to develop that skill, I don't have that kind of time. So that's some of my issues with the way the gaming industry has gone is there's a lot of games that are just they're geared towards more the gamers that are playing 5, 6, 7, 8 hours a day. Because and I get it, like I get that that is their primary market, right? That's who they're marketing towards. But it would be nice, but like the Formula One game, they have what they call this year they introduced a casual racing style where it's like they put on all the training wheels. You can make the AI as hard as you want, which does make it more challenging for like somebody like me. But if more games did stuff like that, it would be easier to allow like casual gamers to play.
Yeah, I think and again, I'm sure they crunched the numbers and they said, hey, who has a ridiculous amount of free time and can, throw some money away on a $70 game? And it's usually not somebody with a mortgage.
No.
So I
Right.
I think
a lot of times it's the mortgage payer buying the games.
Yeah. It's I definitely think you're right. Is that at a certain age your brain turns to mush and you can't hang, old man. You just can't hang.
So I mean, I kind of feel, I won't say quite the same way, but I certainly appreciate that I'm not going to spend, hours and hours mastering a game anymore when I've got, multiple kids running around and work and mortgages and all sorts of stuff like that. But I think the biggest thing for me has just been realizing that there's no shame in the easy setting. If the story
and more
is
games
good,
have that now. Not all of them,
yes,
but more.
yes. If the story is good and it's an engaging story and you're taking part in that story, that's more interactive than you could ever really be watching a movie or a TV show.
That's why I love them so much.
You've got, yes, you've got that level of interaction. And you know what? So what if you can't beat it on hard? That doesn't matter. Enjoy the story. A lot of these games have, actual published authors and writers behind them telling an engaging story. Like, enjoy that, live that story, be with that story, but don't place unnecessary burdens on yourself to enjoy the act of gaming.
Yeah. Well, and for me, I hate almost every game for the first couple hours because like you're trying to learn this stuff. Depends on how difficult it is. Because not like for the most part, there's like a general mapping of a controller, but there's gonna be differences. So it does take that learning curve. But yeah, I mean, you could go into just probably an hours long discussion on that. Like you'd be, I like, even when I heard how little, like you can even, I could log on my PlayStation right now and see like the completion rate. So like probably on average, less than 30 to 40% of people that start that game will finish that game. Like most of what I have is single player. But I mean, that's shockingly low, obviously. So yeah, studios are always looking at that kind of stuff. But also like Cyberpunk is another good example. They had The Witcher 3 is so long, and that same studio kept hearing like it's too long, it's too long, it's too long. So when they made Cyberpunk, they made the main campaign like 25 hours as opposed to like 50 plus. So they're always looking at that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
One of the other things I've noticed is the gaming communities have a closer connection to the game developers now.
Yeah.
So one of the wildest things I've seen in recent times was last year. So I've played Madden for years because I can play it on easy and I enjoy it. But I don't play like online against other people. I just stick to my franchise mode and I'm happy. But Madden hasn't updated. They haven't really done any good updates to the franchise mode in years. And they have been promising the gaming community for a while. When they did their release for Madden 21 last summer, as soon as the community saw, like this is day of the release of the footage, right? Like here's our next version of Madden. The same day, it was trending on like Twitter because the entire gaming or the Madden gaming community basically was like, "There's no update to franchise. This is absolutely ridiculous. We're all dropping like our pre-orders. We're boycotting." And apparently Madden or the EA heard that, and within like I think a week or so, they basically came out and said, "We hear what you're saying. We're taking all this back. We're gonna revisit this, and we're gonna actually make good updates to the franchise mode." And they did, and I was really shocked by that because I was like, "That's pretty awesome." That I don't like to say mob mentality can be used for good, but this was an instance of where the entire community came together and were like, something has to be done because clearly EA is just after the money grab because they're not doing what they're saying they're going to do, and they held them accountable.
It can be really bad though, because like when Halo dropped that that trailer, I think it was over a year ago, they got eaten alive because of how bad it looked, just compared to like what
Sonic
games
the Hedgehog
we're used
movie.
to. Oh,
Yep.
true. That's another good, yeah. Mhm.
Exactly.
And yeah, so the Halo guys are still working on it. Like they probably added a year at least to their development cycle to fix it because people are like, this doesn't look right. It looks crappy, and it did look really old.
I think that's kind of a good thing though, that
if people were nicer, the problem is that like, or even like The Last of Us 2 had those, it's the worst leak I've ever seen in video games. They got attacked, they got death threats. I mean, some of these people are insane. They're not nice about it.
I do not like the mob mentality where we make violent threats like that.
Yeah.
If people are doing that,
it's awful.
To me, like at that point, you become a useless human being.
Your games are taken away forever. Yeah.
Not even that. I think at that point, like if that's how you act and think, somebody is doing something you don't like, so you're like, I want to kill them. Like, how did you get that mindset to begin with? Like, who?
Yeah, it's disturbing.
What happened in your life that?
Like, it is just a video game, guys. Yeah, like, there are worse problems in the world.
So I don't like that mentality, and I actually didn't see a lot of that from the Madden community. It was more like, hey, I'm actually canceling my pre-order, and then they would follow through with it. And I'm wondering if companies like GameStop and Best Buy and other other gaming outlets started seeing that and maybe were reporting, and that was somehow getting back to like EA that, hey, this is really happening. Like people are actually canceling their pre-orders of the game,
Right.
and that's what got their attention.
I would just to put a finer point on that. I would say that just like before, there is a cost analysis that goes into everything, and I wouldn't even say it's necessarily the vitriol that moves the needle, but it's the dollars. And if they see that, and to use Logan's analogy perfectly, Sonic the Hedgehog, yeah, they hate the way it looks. How much would it cost us to fix it versus how much do you think we'll lose if nobody goes to see it? And they said, well, we could fix it for about maybe $10-20 million. Do it. And I think that's the same metric that's applying to gaming. They say, hey, look, with the feedback we're getting, we're probably going to do this much in sales. How much would it cost to go back and rework it? And that's business 101 is, you try and make the most with what you got. And and because we live in this world where you can get instant feedback, because focus groups are the world now. You can literally find out what you're going to be doing based on, I'm sure they have some sort of an algorithm where they're actually seeing all of the negative posts and the positive posts. I mean, I've done metrics on that where I've literally seen the thumbs up and thumbs down on posts. So it's not too hard to quantify.
No.
Yeah.
And it worked for Sonic.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I mean, it blew up. It hit what, $300 million box office, and there's a second one in development. I mean, it paid off to listen.
And I think a big part of that might have been because not only did it get all the press for it being so horrible, but it doubled down on getting that press because it said, okay, I want to see how they fixed it. So it's almost like if Cats would have reworked their, their movie, I bet they would have had it. So
one of the other gaming points I was going to talk about, I wanted to get everybody's thoughts on, was there's been a huge leap and push into the virtual reality and augmented reality games that are geared towards helping people be more active. Like for virtual reality, I have several friends that have that game Beat Saber.
I was gonna say
and they love it, but they're like, it becomes like an arm workout. And then you have games like Pokemon Go and the platform that was built on, which was Ingress, I think. Ingress. And then of course there was like a Harry Potter version that came out from the same platform, that are geared towards getting people out of their houses and moving around and discovering new things. And I just wanted to see what everybody's takes on those were.
Well, I remember when I was younger, I used to go outside and live without the assistance of
you didn't have to buy something.
Yeah. And
that must have been a while ago.
Yes, it looked like it looked like the movie Malcolm and Marie. Everything was black and white.
Yes.
Before color.
Yes, before.
You had a tetherball.
And I do remember when Wii came out, and the Wii was supposed to be the physical.
I still have my Wii. It's so fun.
Yeah.
You can be lazy with the Wii. There's so many ways to be lazy with it.
Yeah, you could just be like,
do you put it on?
Whereas Beat Saber, you have to be like constantly.
So Kenny, you put it on easy? Is that what you're telling me?
What's that?
You put Wii on easy?
No, like literally all of the games. Like you can, like bowling, you can sit in your chair and you don't have to get up and do anything. You just.
How can you make bowling less of a physical sport?
I'm just saying, same thing with tennis. Like you could play it from sitting in a chair. Like there's very little movement required. So
yes, that is. I'm sorry. Yeah. Everybody else had thoughts on that. Yes. The virtual. Like what was Michelle Obama's initiative? Get out and play stupid. I forget what was the name of it. Let's get moving.
I'm sure that's it.
Get out of the house. Yes.
I mean, I'm not opposed to them. I like VR, but like they're still kind of expensive. So it's because you have to buy the whole setup,
Yeah, the whole kit.
obviously. But yeah, and those are ones that I'll play for a little while, but not like I mean, I can play all day if I have the right game. So I don't know.
Yeah,
But yeah, it's cool to get people moving.
Yeah, I think the cost of entry for good VR is still just too high for most people.
100.
It's way too high. I know it's high for me. And I don't think, as much as the Pokemon Go and some of the others worked, I don't think there's still a good enough interface for AR to really take it to that next level. I mean, I really think you'd need a pair of AR glasses that don't look dorky, for lack of a scientific term.
Yeah.
And then you can really, I mean, what you can do once it reaches that point is limitless. I mean, you can have entirely separate worlds and countries you can live in, all in AR overlaid in the real world with existing buildings and existing places and things. I mean,
And did you know you will remember things like directionally like you would in real life, as opposed to like watching it or just playing a regular video game, because like how it's like mapped onto your face and how your brain receives it.
There's a really good 2-book series that I read by an author named Daniel Suarez, and it is called Damon and Freedom TM. And part of the overall plot of those 2 books is that this multi-billionaire gamer, before he dies, has created this basically alternate or augmented reality, RPG, like, or MMORPG, where that basically becomes its own subculture and sub-society. Like, you can only interact with people if you are part of that society, and you have to have they talk about how you see people wearing these, kind of weird glasses, but they're not really weird, and they're presenting an augmented reality.
That reminds me of Ready Player One.
It's not that. This is more near future.
Ready Player One was full VR.
Way in the future. This is using a lot of near future technology, and it actually is a lot like Logan was describing, where it becomes less of a video game and more of a new society where people are interacting, and creating a new currency and all these. It's really interesting. I really recommend those 2 books. Like, people that like near future technology and that it's not so much fantasy as it is just like tech.
Yeah. I mean, I remember going to a Microsoft store. This must have been 2 or 3 years ago, and getting to see a demo of their HoloLens. And that was the closest to that kind of interface and that interactivity that, like, you're going to need to get in a much more mobile, compact, fashionable package in order to make AR a completely viable thing. I mean, inside their area to see, a T-Rex dancing on a record player and multiple TV screens on the walls that don't exist. I mean, the demo was on point. It was clearly limited to just that demo. But the possibilities for what it could do were the closest real world example to what it would need to get to really be the next thing. And whoever cracks that has it. There's no question.
Think about, like, if you were walking around and, like, I run into you on the street, Julian, but I haven't met you before, but because we're both part of this augmented reality subculture, I can see that, like, what's displayed for me is your character, is your name, and I can, through interacting with the lens, I can click on like a profile and I can see who you are, and I can see how other people who have interacted with you have rated you. You know, think like kind of like a Reddit thing where
First of all, you can't trust those ratings, Kenny. You can't trust
so
them at all.
that's what was really cool about that book series I was writing is they talk about that because people can, you know, up or down vote and based on interaction. But the way they do it is you can't upvote or downvote without having a verifiable interaction with somebody. And the only way that can be done is through that AR interaction.
Reminds me of that Black Mirror episode with
I was just saying,
Bryce
if it was
Da-
worse, it'd be that Black Mirror episode.
yes, with Bryce Dallas Howard. Great
Yes,
episode.
that was so crazy.
I would love that app where you can just rate everything.
Oh my
God. But again, and let first of all, Logan, I liked how you broke down the difference between serialized versus episodic. Please break down augmented reality versus virtual reality.
So virtual reality is when you are completely inside of a fully virtualized or made up world. So you have a complete headset on that is obscuring your outer vision. If you're going to go with your Ready Player One style, you're on a treadmill, omnidirectional treadmill kind of a thing. So you're completely in that world. It is fully virtual. Augmented reality, you are basically, like it says, augmenting the reality that you're living in. So you've got either a pair of glasses or contacts or something that's overlaying images on top of you. So you could, be an American citizen, but you're also a citizen of the augmented reality country of Sokovia. So you're walking down the street and this laundromat that you might never have gone into actually has an overlay of Sokovian embassy. So you could walk in, go into it, and then there would be an arrow or other parts that would say, go to the back here. You would go right to the back, and there could be a keypad on a door. Anybody else would think it's just a regular, laundromat back room. But since you're a Sokovian citizen, the keypad code shows up. You open it up, you go back there, and you're in, maybe like a speakeasy kind of a bar that nobody else would know exists, but it's only available for Sokovian citizens.
You got to read those books I was mentioning because that's
I love it. And speaking of Google starting developing on something and totally just scrapping it because Google glasses weren't they essentially augmented reality? Yeah, remember
they were partially. So that was more of it was augmented reality, but it would probably be more considered of a heads-up display type thing. The Google glasses themselves had that small kind of a prism-like cube where you would have things displayed in your field of view, but it didn't necessarily fully immerse you in a world. So it was more of a, there are some actually motorcycle helmet companies who are working on that kind of a heads-up display in a motorcycle helmet for speed, for news, for weather, for other things as kind of a heads-up display in your helmet while you're riding for essential information. And I would probably say the Google Glass was more akin to that kind of a walk-around heads-up display. I think that's actually how it's still being used in some manufacturing areas, the last I heard, as opposed to a fully immersive augmented reality.
Well, and to your point, I think augmented reality would be that's another evolutionary jump, just like smartphones, because you're right. If you could look at a restaurant and the menu pops up, or a commercial pops up, or the rating pops up, it takes so much of the thinking out of life, and that's what technology is all about. It's helping you, dummy. It's helping you get through this world. So I love it. I love all of that. I'll start working on that with you guys after the show. We'll put together some VR AR HUD stuff. So good stuff. Good stuff. Guys, that is all I have. So amazing stuff. Again, fantastic episode as always. We're going to be back for episode 7 of WandaVision. Unless our old brains can't, muster the ability to get back online because we're, what do you call it? Decrepitude. I think that's what they called it in Blade Runner. Yes. we got the old man disease. I can't play games anymore. But yes, and also on March 18th, we're going to be talking about Zack Snyder's 4-hour-long opus 2 special effects. And
that's a great way to name it. I like that.
Yeah, we'll see what that is going to be like. And
on March 19th, we'll be talking about Falcon and the Winter Soldier, because that drops on the 19th.
Exactly. Remember last episode, Logan, I was talking about how they're rolling out the Marvel stuff.
Yeah.
So but also the Star Wars stuff. So I think Disney, I'm willing to bet that Disney on these serial episodes are going to be 2-3 seasons tops. I don't think they're going to run them into the ground. They got Obi-Wan.
Yeah. I think, like we said, they'll be just as long as they need to be, and they're not going to go on any longer than that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Can you imagine like a Mandalorian, Ahsoka, Obi-Wan Kenobi, all running simultaneously? Again, my old brain can't handle that much. So keep it simple. Keep my membership going by just keep feeding me slowly the next episode. And that's another thing. If you think about it, the Disney Channel, their library is huge, but it's not Netflix huge. So you could, in theory, run through them probably in a couple of months, and just get bored and then turn off your thing. So I think that's also probably part of their business model, where they are, parsing things out just to keep you engaged. It could be, they don't have me in the board meetings, but that is what I'm assuming. So,
unless you have kids.
Exactly, because yes, kids will watch the same thing over and over again. Bless them.
I'm a big kid then.
I would love to see a counter on my account as how many times we've watched Frozen 2, and Moana. That would be both entertaining and sad.
That would be me with the Avatar: The Last Airbender series.
Not the M. Night Shyamalan one, the series, right?
The series. That's why I said series.
Now, and that's another thing. I have been rewatching some Netflix anime episodes. And what's really bizarre is a lot of them are the same story. There's like this new series of fighting, like MMA fighting anime. Some of them have that like 3D look to them. I think, and I'm going to slaughter the name. So easy, internet, easy. I'm just reaching here. Okay. One is like, I think it's called Kenshin. And it's, and the other one is Baki. And they're the same character. It's, just this laid back, casual guy who's just the best at everything. He's like your Goku type of a character, same, unkempt hair. And he's just really laissez-faire. Everything's cool. And then he goes into these brutal matches and everything gets slowed down and they're thinking, and you hear their internal monologue of how they're going to sweep the leg or whatever, kung fu they're doing. But it's funny. It's like, I watch them and I watch them again and again. They're formulaic and it's like a video game because they're fighting these characters that are just bizarre and have all these special techniques. And then they got to figure out how to beat the special technique. And end of episode, and they go on to the next one. And guess what? It's the same thing. It's just another guy with another weird superpower.
That's how you do it, right?
Exactly.
Once you unlock the secret formula, you just
beat it to death.
You know what? They don't. They don't.
$30 it's worth.
Glue.
Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, the rule of life is they don't make 2 Big Macs. You know why? They don't have to. Okay, so with that word of wisdom, I would like to wrap it up. I would like to wrap it up and just say, hey, out there, remember to take care of each other, take care of yourselves. And as always, remember, if it's worthwhile, it's worth binging.